Welcome to Dr. Krystal's podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. I am your host, Dr. Krystal, a doctor of East Asian medicine and a holistic transformational coach. Here we will shine light on wisdom keepers, paradigm shifters who inspire us to live thriving, joyful lives. Let's be inspired. Although I am a doctor of East Asian medicine, this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. It does not replace professional medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare provider for guidance on your personal health needs. Hello, welcome to the Dr. Krystal Podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. I am your host, Dr. Krystal, and I'm so delighted to introduce our guest today, Dr. Tereza Hubkova. Did I say that correctly?
You did, and thank you for having me here.
Yes, she's a board certified in internal medicine as well as integrative holistic functional medicine and has compassionately been helping patients maintain and reclaim their health and healthy lifestyles through natural approaches as well as Western medical practices. I've seen you, and what I love is that you spend a lot of time and that you're very present and very thorough. And I was also, when I sat in your office and I saw the pictures of Dalai Lama and the Indigenous Grandmothers, I was like, oh, she's a kindred spirit. And what a gift that you are to have your medical background, but then also have so much compassion and awareness on such a deeper level than I would say a majority of other doctors, which they have their own gifts too. I don't want to compare in a bad way. I just really admire you, and I'm so grateful that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, yeah, you're such a gift to the Valley, to Bell Valley, and as you know, this is about sacred stories, and so I'm curious, what does sacred mean to you?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, when you sent me the invitation and it was asking about sacred story, honestly, I had to Google because I always understood sacred more in a religious way. And I am not a religious person. I am a spiritual person, but not religious. So I wanted to make sure that I understood the question correctly. And if I were completely honest, I think for me, the most sacred moments in my life is when I'm in nature. And which is why I am just so grateful to be living in Colorado. And every morning when I walk my dog to see the beautiful sunrise and the mountains and the clouds, the mist, the smell of the sage after rain, those are the moments that to me are probably the most sacred.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like when I see your pictures, you are just radiating joy. Like there's a happiness that comes through some of the, when I see you hiking and I'm glad that makes sense to me that you said that.
I think everybody has probably their healing spot. I believe in healing places. And for me, that's definitely nature. So I
Yeah.
think I'll hopefully be able to give people more of what I have learned when I'm myself in my own healing place.
Right. So what sacred story would you like to share today?
So maybe my journey through medicine that brought me here, because I actually never really wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a teacher. But my mom was a teacher, and so she didn't want me to become a teacher. She thought it was just too hard and fighting with children. And so I went to medical school under communism because I had good grades. And that was the one school that I didn't have to have like a special political background. My family was not, a communist family, which was very rare at that time. So I didn't have a lot of choices. And once I entered medical school, I actually fell in love with it. And I really liked being with patients and learning about them and learning how to help them. And when I was first year in medical school, we had revolution in Czech Republic. We had the Velvet Revolution when communism was brought down. And all of a sudden, the world opened to me. And I realized that when I'm done with medical school, I actually could explore the world and go see how people live somewhere else. And so I decided to, because I spoke English, to come to the United States, see how people live here, and then I stayed here. But all along, kind of my medical journey, which was very traditional. I had traditional MD degree. I went through internal medicine residency. I always knew that there was something else out there that we were not getting to the bottom of with just medications and surgery. So I have been always on a quest, and I'm still on the quest to figure out what are all the pieces that I have to tie together to uh, really have the deepest impact on my patients and really help them heal on the deepest level. And so the quest never finished. It will never finish. I think I'll be on the quest my entire life. But it involves things like nutrition and Chinese medicine, functional medicine, herbalism. I have been a perpetual student of whatever interests me. I always dive into it. And I hope that we will have a chance to talk about what we share in common, which is a little bit about the 13 Indigenous grandmothers. Um, and finally, after all these years of learning here and there, a little bit of everything, uh, I am just happy that that is what I can provide to our patients here in Edwards, in Colorado, at Itzvero, and that the quest continues, the learning continues every single week.
Right, because it's all the new evidence comes out every day almost now with technology. It's all so fast and, um, it's interesting you wanted to be a school teacher and then you went down the medical path, but, you still are educating, right? You're educating your patients, telling them about, you know, what these herbs do and what this medication does and how what came up on their labs and lifestyle, and so you're still an educator in a lot of ways,
Yeah,
right? Just
yeah, yeah, yeah.
on a different level, so
And I actually have been fortunate to also teach physicians,
oh,
which I enjoy very much because it's kind of on a higher level and it's a challenge that I like to step up to. So I have been at a few conferences like Integrative Health Symposium, teaching about herbs that are adaptogens and that help relieve stress and help with brain health, like nootropics and medicinal mushrooms. Um, that when I was at Canyon Ranch, I was teaching about cardiac health from integrative perspective and women's health, hormone replacement. So um, it's being an integrative physician doesn't mean that you are kind of away from regular mainstream medicine. It's more like that you embrace it and you fill in the gaps that they have because their education is very different and it's um, it's challenging. It takes a lot of work. Uh, sometimes, um, Sometimes we are not even looked at in a positive light. I think a lot of physicians in the
mhm,
integrative field and functional medicine sometimes are looked down at as if they are having less to offer, even though it's the opposite. So it's been a challenging journey, but I cannot imagine any other journey because
yeah.
that's just who I am. I have to keep asking why and what is there that's safer to help my patients, what is there that's better, that has less side effects, and keep learning.
Yes. Well, you're my favorite kind of doctor, that's for sure. So to be integrative and functional and kind and compassionate. I would love to hear more about your time with the Indigenous grandmothers. And you spent some time on reservations and
Yeah.
what led you there? That's
Mm.
what
It was interesting. I think what led me there was really a chance encounter. When I lived in Massachusetts, I knew a chiropractor who one day just asked me, "Hey, you are a physician. We need a physician to go with this group called 13 Indigenous Grandmothers
oh,
to India." And I'm like, "Ooh, that sounds great." So I had to take 2 weeks off at that time I was a hospitalist. Luckily, I was able to take the 2 weeks off, filled bags with medications, antibiotics, aspirin, and so forth. And I went on a private audience with Dalai Lama with these indigenous women from different tribes. So, as you know, the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers is a group that has 13 very accomplished healers and shamans from different traditions from Amazon to Tibet and Nepal, Native American Indians, Mexican, and they kind of used to get together a couple times a year, I think, once in the US and once abroad, and just kind of share their teachings with whoever was interested. So that time, this was, I think, in 2008 or 2009, it was a while back, they went to visit Dalai Lama, and I was a physician on their group. And what was interesting, that all the young people who were part of the expedition, they were all the people who were like getting sick, and get diarrhea and whatnot, being in India. And the grandmothers, even though they were in their 70s and 80s, they were completely healthy. None of them got sick, not a single one. And I noticed that they always were picking different herbs, even like just being in a country that was not their native. They still were always looking around and picking something that was growing. And they always had pockets full of herbs. And of course, they were also doing prayer. They had a fire going 24 hours a day that was kept by firekeepers, and the gratefulness for life and prayer was just naturally part of their life. Morning prayer, evening prayer. And I realized, boy, there is something else that is really important for the way that we are in life, for our healing, for living life to our fullest. And that is something spiritual that's going on here. And I have to learn more about it. So that was kind of like the beginning. And then, unfortunately, I have a family member, my nephew, who had an accident and became quadriplegic. And, there was pretty much nothing that traditional medicine could offer. He was intubated on a ventilator already for like a couple of months, still in the ICU. And it was a very high degree cervical spine injury. So they didn't give us much hope that he would even be taken off the ventilator. And I, of course, remembered about the native healers, and I started working with a medicine man, a Navajo medicine man. And we started doing prayers in the teepee ceremonies in a traditional Native American way. And within 3 days of the first ceremony, he started moving his fingers. He was extubated and he started moving his fingers. And I really had to bring to the table everything I ever learned, from sound healing to prayers to herbs, homeopathy, everything, to try to help my nephew. And even though he's still in a wheelchair, he was extubated and he moves his fingers and is actually working full time, because he can operate computer with his voice. And that was probably the most challenging time in my life, but also was time where I really brought everything I ever learned to one patient.
Oh, wow. That brought tears to my eyes thinking about, the prayers and that you saw the miracle of what is possible, what can happen. And um yeah, and so Jyoti was the one who originally had she was given by spirit this vision of bringing the 13 Indigenous grandmothers together. And you met Jyoti, right? I mentored with her for, gosh, almost 3-4 years, did some really deep work with her. And it was all about prayer. And then I did her program as well, walking prayer, and learned from different traditions about the energy of prayer. And you sent me a video earlier about consciousness and how we don't know, and the guy was saying that we know very little about it. And I think we're on this precipice of learning so much more, and like everything that what we thought is not going to be. And I feel like in the next few years we're just going to really see some phenomenal things. Some will be somewhat scary, and some will be profound. And I kind of I like to listen and learn a lot, and so I've been listening a lot about AI and consciousness, and thinking about spiritual evolution with this AI information coming in. And it seems like there's two roads, right? Like, well, there could be this road of like this super intelligence that could dominate, and then I also see this path of
an awakening happening with people where we these things that the indigenous people have been teaching and sharing, that their wisdom is just gonna really blossom in a whole new way. And that idea of consciousness and intelligence, and whether it's artificial intelligence or human and spirit and soul and energy, it's going to be fascinating. And I'm really excited to be alive right now. I mean, it's exhausting on one level, and um I think the more that we can stay centered in praying, whatever the way you pray, it's so different if someone has a religion, or, but meditation and all of those practices, and then finding the medical providers who operate on your level, who can see on many different, multidimensional. You're not just one dimensional. You have the information from med school, and then you have all this other stuff that you've taken in these other studies: integrative, nutrition, meditation, and then wisdom from the indigenous. That wisdom is so, it's like gold. It's precious. And I love that that's part of you and what you offer. And um, so
There is
what
still so much that I would like to learn. I
I
almost feel like one lifetime is not enough to absorb everything that I wish I could absorb. But yeah, this book, that's Michael Pollan, the latest book on consciousness. I cannot wait to get it. I think it's
Yeah,
going to be fascinating, and I know that there is so much more that we are not routinely using in our lives, but maybe some people do. Maybe some of
yeah,
the Indigenous grandmothers and Indigenous people have always known it, and they know how to tap to it.
yeah,
And I hope that we all learn it, and that it's going to really save our planet too, because
yeah,
we have to learn so much about how to take care of the planet so we don't keep polluting it and destroying it, and that we don't take more than we really need. So yeah, I'm hopeful that
yeah,
some change is coming.
yeah. Returning to the heart and intuition. That the grandmothers were in foreign lands, but still would reach for the herbs, and would listen and trust their heart's guidance and their wisdom of, like, well, maybe this can, and
Mhm.
just coming back to the heart. And then, I don't AI isn't intuitive, but we are, as humans. We have our heart, we have our empathy, we have our intuition, and I think that's going to become more and more important as we move forward. So before we end, what is a sacred practice that you would like to share with people?
Mhm. For everybody, it's going to be different. For me, it really is being in nature. And every morning, as soon as I'm out and I see the sunrise and I see the flowers and the mountains,
Mhm.
for me, it's expressing gratitude. And that really in the core is my spiritual practice. It's gratitude. And it
Mm,
sets me in a state of being grateful. So you cannot have a bad day when you are grateful for where you are and for your
mm.
life and for where you live. That is really my practice.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I love it. And you have a very bright spirit. And I love that the happiness exudes from you, because I think that is a good mirror for your patients that come to you, who maybe are suffering or struggling or not feeling good. And then you hold this light, beautiful, compassionate space, and then all this wisdom to share. So how can people find you?
Mhm. They can find me at inspiromedical.com. We are on the Riverwalk in Edwards. So visit our website, visit our Facebook page or Instagram. We are a small practice. We are trying to grow. So hopefully we'll have a podcast soon as well, and maybe some master classes online, so that we can touch more people, hopefully. So stay tuned, and yeah, visit us at the Inspiro Medical.
Thank you so much. And thank you for those who joined us today at the Dr. Krystal Podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. We are all family here. And until next time, remember to find those sweet, sacred moments in everyday life.
Thank you for joining me on Dr. Krystal's podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. If today's episode lifted you up, I'd love if you shared it with a friend, subscribe, leave a comment. It helps more people discover these stories of light and transformation. And if you'd like to work with me more closely, head over to www.drkrystalkinnunen.com. And as a thank you for listening to the show, you'll receive $20 off your first session. Details are also in the show notes. Remember, in this time of rapid change and transformation, you are not alone. You are part of a greater shift, and your inspired life matters. Until next time, let's be inspired.